Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. Welcome, Frankie. You are number one, as usual. And welcome, is that Luddite or Ludite? I could be pronouncing it wrong incorrectly both times, but welcome. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Okay, we are going to get started. Okay, so we're going to get started, and everyone else can just drift in as they tend to do. All right, we're going to talk about controlling parents today. What happens to the children? What happens to children of controlling and overbearing parents? Do they act out as children and become people you don't want to know as adults? Do they overcome and break away from their parents and become individuals and lead successful lives? So, what do you guys think? Some people may have grown up with controlling parents. Some people may know people who had a controlling parent or parents. Some people may be controlling parents right now. I don't know. But what happens to the children? Why are parents controlling? I mean, what is the reason? What is the reason for that parent to control their child? And do they think they can maintain that control when the child becomes an adult? Now, there are some people, I don't know, who tend to allow themselves, even as an adult, to still, be controlled by their parent. And I'm not saying if someone is a, you know, mama's boy or daddy's girl. I'm talking about, parents who, for whatever reason, they feel that they have a need to control their children. Now, we have parents who like to control the behavior of their children, and we have parents who, have that psychological control over their children. The ones who, consistently, intrude into their children's emotional state. You know, you have parents who, your child wants to play hockey, but you don't want them. You feel, that maybe tennis is the better sport for them. So you don't allow them to play hockey. So instead they're playing tennis, and it could be a sport that they don't like. When parents are controlling, do they care if their child is unhappy? Do they care that while you're doing this to your child at a young age, that you may lose them when they get older? You know, when you're 18, you're an adult. Are you going to be that kid who, at the age of 18, you're just going to pack up and leave because you don't want to be around your parents anymore? You're going to do the things that you want to do. And because your parents were so controlling as a child, is that going to make you go down the wrong path, the wrong road as an adult? It's going to be like, woohoo, now I can do whatever I want. And you're going to, start hanging out and, partying, possibly with the wrong people because maybe you didn't get a chance to go to parties when you were younger. I grew up with, some people whose parents, or their mother mainly, didn't let them do anything. They're fine now, but still, you want to be able to hang out, with your friends. You want to be able to have that sleepover, or you know, ride your bike, you know, maybe just go hang out for a couple hours, playing games or whatever. But you have some parents who just, they're going to control every aspect of your life. So how do these parents who have, I'm going to use the word, they've manipulated their children. So, or is that a fair word to use? Because is controlling manipulation? I don't know. And then when we are, um, when we're controlling someone's behavior, what are you doing? Where are you going? Why are you going there? Don't hang out with that person. Now, I must say that when my son, was growing up, there were some kids, that I didn't want him hanging out with, because those are the kids that always got in trouble. And when I see these kids years later, I'm glad that my son didn't hang out with those kids, because they were troublemakers when they were younger, and they're troublemakers as an adult. But I understand that you can't be with your child 24/7. You cannot be with your child constantly. So while you're telling them, they have to do this, they have to do that, when they go to school, you don't know if they're, for some girls, you hear stories where they change clothes when they get to school, and then when they go home they change clothes again. Hello, Mr. A, welcome. So um is it beneficial for a parent to want to control their child or their children? And if you're in a dynamic where, it's more than one child, does that mess with the dynamic of the other siblings? Meaning, if you're the oldest, if you're the oldest of the siblings, can that affect you in your psyche, where maybe you start to be a controlling person, and you start to, you know, uh, you may not realize that you're doing it, but you start to control your younger siblings. And then when you get married, do you become that parent or that spouse that is controlling? So I think there's a couple of ways that, you can look at this. Are you going to have that parent who, um, they never want you to move away from home, because they always want you near, and if you buy a house, buy the house next door, because they always want you around. You have the opportunity to have that dream job that just may take you across the country, or possibly out of the country. But that parent, or those parents, um, they think of a way to have you stay, or reasons why you shouldn't go. And instead of sticking to your guns, you relent. And then you end up getting another job that, either you don't like, or it's just okay. And you have regrets for maybe the rest of your life, because you let this dream job pass. So what do you think? I mean, there's just so many ways that people control their kids. Interfering with, like I said, nearly every aspect of the child's life. Criticizing any choice a child tries to make independently. You know, well, yeah, I know you decide to do that, but that's really not a good thing to do, or just trying to find some negative thing to say, just something negative that's going to bring that child down. And this is either whether the child's 5 years old, 15, or 25. Just something. Or they have standards for you that are just there's no way that you're going to attain them. So that's another way to criticize you, because they've put their expectations on such a high bar that you're not able to do anything with them. You're not able to, um, reach those requirements that your parents have set because it's too high, you know? And then you have those parents who are controlling, and their love is based on how well you do. They love you to death when you know you've done something well, something you've wanted, or they've wanted you to do. But then when you revert back to something that you want to do, or they don't, or you don't want to do something that they've asked you to do, all of a sudden, their love for you may not be as vocal, or they may not be as apparent. You know, um, um, you know, well, you were loving me yesterday, but now since I want to do A instead of B, I'm not feeling the love. And some parents have conditional love, you know, or they withhold love. You have some parents that have, you know, uh, unrealistic rules, or rules that are so rigid, that it's like, a kid starts to get stressed out because they're not able to attain that level of what can I say? They're not the child is not able to function within those guidelines. So you look at children who are stressed out, because they have these controlling parents, and it's like, are the parents just so wrapped up in themselves and what they want, what they expect, that they don't see that their children are freaking out. And when I say freaking out, I mean they're at a level of stress that the only way that they, are not stressed is when they're away from their parents. They may hate school, but school may end up, or dislike school, but school may be the safe haven for them. Your safe haven should, primarily be your home. But you don't want to go home because you're going back to them, you know? Or you go over a friend's house, if you're even allowed to do that. Controlling parents, sometimes have a lack of empathy and respect. They don't, respect your choices. They don't respect your space. They don't respect the things that you do. There's no empathy. They don't, they're not capable of it, because again, are they so wrapped up in what they expect of you that they don't see anyone else. They don't, they're not aware of, anyone else's feelings. Is that possible? So when you look at control, and I guess, when we're talking about controlling parents, I guess it's not just the parents who I would say, are controlling, because you can also have a controlling spouse. You can have a controlling friend. Um, and if you had a control, you could have a controlling brother or sister. Once again, when you grow up, how is that going to affect you? How is that going to affect your psyche? Do you allow it to affect you in a negative way? Some controlling parents have punishments that are very harsh. All you did was you know, you got that B on a test instead of an A. And because of their rigid rules and they're so controlling, that they punish you, and it's very harsh. So I'm going to, you know, get a very harsh punishment because I brought home a B instead of an A. Or maybe you didn't, clean the house or take out the garbage or wash the dishes. But a lot of controlling parents, some of the trademarks are they have, you know, um, harsh punishments. Some controlling parents don't want to, appreciate that their child is an individual. I am my own person. This is who I am. Accept me for who I am. I'm not like my brother, not like my sister. I'm not like you. Don't turn me into a mini you. You know, can you respect me for who I am? And then you have parents that sometimes expect the child to act like the parent. You know, giving them adult responsibilities that they become the caregiver. And I understand that in large families, a lot of times you have the oldest ones who are taking care of the younger ones. And I don't know if I would necessarily say that's a controlling parent, but sometimes it could be depending upon the dynamic of the family. So you also have that. We have some parents who are controlling, think that they can control you by what they give you. I'm going to give you this. If I give you this, then I want you to do that. And if you're willing to accept the manipulation of gifts, you're allowing, someone to control you. Again, not just parents, but this can go either way. You're in relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends. You have, you're in relationships where, they're controlling you, where, they cut you off from other people. So there you have those different levels there. Okay. And then you have the guilt and shame portion of it. Welcome, Helmer, and welcome, Bahram. Um, you know, um, that's the psychological part. They manipulate you, through guilt, or they try to shame you. And again, I go back and say this does not necessarily have to be with parents. This can be in relationships. This can be, between siblings. This can be between friends. Growing up, did you have that one friend who always wanted to be the leader, always had to be number one? If you were playing a game, they always had to be first, and they always wanted to tell you what to do. So as you're, when you grow up and you go through life, how does this affect you? How does it affect you that, your parents, had that much control over you that you really didn't, you know, get a chance to experience much? And is control and manipulation the same thing? If your parents are controlling parents, are they also in a situation where they can get you to do whatever they want you to do? So, um, Bahram, you're here. I'm going to open it up to you. I understand Frankie's situation. So if you want to join, that's fine. If not, I have been just going on and on because I have a lot to say about this subject. So welcome.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I just jumped on just now and catching what you were saying about controlling parents. I don't know if you want to carry on, and I'll collect my thoughts and maybe or
Okay.
ask me a
Okay.
question. I don't know. I've just joined, so I'm a bit
Okay.
behind.
All right.
Yep.
Not a problem. You know, basically, I did not grow up with controlling parents, especially my dad. But I had a very complicated mother. And I guess in a way she could have been on the controlling side, but um, you know, I have found that with any relationship you're in, if you have someone who is wanting to control you or have you do the things that they want you to do, you have to pretty much stand your ground. But when you're little, when you're just a child, you don't have that option. I mean, for the most part, you don't. Your mom or dad, they tell you to do something, you do it. But when you look back at some of the things of how a parent, can control you, just when they criticize you, or they don't allow you, like I said before, have an independent thought. You know, you want to be in the school play. Well, no, no, I don't think you should be in the play because you're really not that good an actor. You think that you can play that role? I don't think so. You know, um, that's a criticism. That's a way of controlling you. That's a way of having you start to doubt yourself, having you doubt, your ability to do something. You know, I grew up on a block where there were mostly, well, it was a lot of kids on the block and different ages, but in my age group, it was mostly girls. And for four of us, we were always riding our bikes all over. We rode our bikes all over the place. You know, we just, I mean, we just always just had a lot of fun riding our bikes. But two of the girls, um, their parents, especially their mom, never allowed them to go with us. And we would see them, we would ride off, and they would be standing on their porch just watching us. And years later, um, I was talking to one of the girls. Actually, we had this conversation last year, and we were talking about it. And she, would say all the times that you guys, went to the movies, or you all were out riding your bikes, or, you all were walking up to the store, you all did this, or you did this. My mom never let us. We could not do anything, and one of the sisters, she was very resentful of that. And it affected her years later. So do you want to be that parent Do you want to be that spouse? Do you want to be that boss? Do you want to be that person that controls someone so much that you lose them? That you lose them. That they don't want to be in your life anymore. They don't want to be around you because of what you did to them when they were younger or what you did to them in this relationship. They don't want to be your friend anymore, because you're that controlling friend who always has to be first, always has to be the leader. So, on that note, Bahram, do you want to jump in and add anything? If not,
Yeah. Those types of people, I can't say I've had that experience, but from what I've learned, these types of people, they've probably felt it in their lives as well when they were younger, and it's kind of molded them into the way that they are. And there'll probably be a fine line between, when you're young and your parents are like that, there's an element of, they're living in fear of what's out there, and they're maybe being overprotective. But in regards to that one where you mentioned that you maybe wanted to be in the school play and audition for a role, and they were like, no, that's not for you, and kind of putting you down, and that's really not nice at all. That's quite mean, and in my opinion, they are not good parents if they're not supporting your wishes and giving you giving you their best wishes and all that support. So I don't know what it is with these people. Like I say, it has to be something that they've had in their childhood. Um, but yeah, no, I don't really come across these people. But again, I'll also say whether it's blood or friends, if it's family or friends that are like that, don't think twice. Like, this is my advice to people where we have been, conditioned to believe that blood's thicker than water, and you should always stick by your family no matter what. I don't see that. Your family should be more nice to you, because at the end of the day, you can't choose them. You can choose your friends, and it doesn't mean to say that they get a free pass. So there's family members that I've had where I've had to walk away because their toxicity, it just gets everyone down. And we've talked about, my family and I have talked about this person, and we all feel our lives are better without that person. And we wish them all the best, but there comes a time where you have to think about yourself, and if we only get one life, then you have to do the best you can, and exclude these people from it if that's what it takes. They're not going to learn if you keep taking them back and keep accepting their apologies, and then they'll just keep doing it again. So you've got to set boundaries, set standards for them, and say, look, if you want to come back into my life, you need to stop doing what you're doing. It's getting me down. I won't take it anymore. And you know see how long it takes for them to set maybe a challenge for them to get back into your life before you just accept an apology.
but do you think it's easier to say that to a controlling family member as opposed to a controlling spouse or a controlling friend? And welcome, Chill. Do you
It
think
it
that is
it,
easier,
sh-
or
it should be. I know it maybe isn't in some instances, because if you've grown up like with your parents all your life, and you love them, but yet you also hate what they're doing, it could be tough, and we've to find that strength to do that. But it should be, because everyone should have standards for their life. And if your happiness is being affected by anyone, you need to take charge of that situation. And I know it's easier said than done, but it shouldn't matter if they're blood or not. I don't think it should.
okay? So, welcome, Juju. So, is manipulation and control? Do you think they are the same thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you don't think manipulation may have just a tad bit rougher edge to it,
I,
as or
I, I think it's the same because you're manipulating someone to do something or not to do something. That's controlling them. You're controlling what they do, using manipulation. So it's like a tool of control. It's pretty much the same thing.
okay. Do you think that controlling parents tend to be more on the defensive side? That they're just always defensive, meaning um, they usually think that what they say is right and don't try to come up against me, or if I tell you to do something, just do it.
Yeah, I think there's two types of people like that. Like there's those who know what they're doing, and those that maybe don't. It's maybe just become habit, and it's maybe part of their personality, and they don't realize what they're doing, and until you tell them, they might still be in denial, or they might realize and go, okay, I see where I'm going wrong. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Um, but yeah, I think there's two types of people that do that.
Okay, I will pass the mic on to Chill. Welcome. So what do you think? We're just talking about controlling parents. So what do you
Oh,
think?
well, yeah, to answer your question, is manipulation and control two different things? They're absolutely two different things. And just the essence of the word. But if you're trying to, I mean, a controlling parent and a manipulating parent, you can manipulate somebody to do good and bad. Typically, we do. We manipulate our kids, or we try to influence them to do good. And the way we teach them, that's all manipulation. Manipulation has got a bad rap because typically people, we like to use it for the people who do the negative things, but we try to manipulate people into doing things that are good for them as well. Whether it's the government, whether it's your parents' house, but in parenting, you have to manipulate your children because sometimes and it just might be posed as a question. I mean, just to give them a question is a type of manipulation to some degree. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? To
I'm
give them a
talking
decision to
about
make.
okay, but I'm talking about someone who just, I mean, they're just consistently doing, not because you're trying to, manipulate them to eat peas or something. I'm saying, that this is a consistent thing where, you know, the kid doesn't even want to come home anymore because, like, oh my God, my parents, there's just, I can't do anything. I can't.
Well, that I mean, controlling is that would be considered controlling, right? But or maybe just strict. You know what I mean? And strict is with controlling. That's synonymous. But I don't think controlling and manipulation are two different things. But controlling a child, sometimes you know which child you can control and you can't. But if you're just a stern parent, disciplined parent, some might not like it, and that's okay because there's benefits from that too. You know, you want to shelter your kids. In some cases, you got to be controlling, right? Depending on where you're at, where you stay, who you're dealing with, or what your situation is. But it's always good to give them let them be free though. If you're too controlling too long, that can definitely be detrimental to a child.
So, okay, so I go back to, the control where, um, you know, you have some parents, like I was saying before you came on, where when I was growing up, I had these two sisters who, the rest of us, we're playing outside, we're going places, we're going to the movies, we're going to parties and stuff. And their mother wouldn't let them do anything, would not let them do anything, and even to this day, the one sister, she, still has this,
Resentment.
yes, this resentment towards her mother, and then her mother, recently passed. I think her mother was 95 and she recently passed this past November. And she says, I don't know what to think. I don't know where my feelings are because we went through so much growing up with her. So again,
Gotcha.
I'm not talking about controlling as a parent because you're being a parent and you're raising your child, but you're just being controlling where your kids can't breathe.
I mean, who's to say I'm not even being a parent? I don't trust the world. Do you know how many people that that and around me do the most craziest paranoid type things. I'm like, man, what? Like, so I peep that out every day. So if I have a parent that's like that, some people are overly cautious, overly just to be sure. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna keep my child out of the house because there's people getting shot in the streets. There's COVID in the streets. There's this in the streets. They tell themselves that they watch the news every day, and they live in fear. And so
But
they just
okay, okay. I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying things like, um, you know, you want to be in that school play, and your mother or father says, no, you can't. Do you really think that you can play that role? No. Instead of going out for that role, instead of being in the play, I want you to take piano lessons, or I want you to do this or do that. I'm not talking about being protective because you're trying to keep your child safe. I'm saying you're literally controlling every aspect of their life. You are controlling, they want to play football, you want them to play tennis. They want to play tennis, you want them to, go out for, I don't know, that's what I'm talking about.
understandable. But where's the line drawn on that? You know what I'm saying? Because if you control every aspect, that's typically your thought process. I know better than you. Because typically your parents, you love your children, right? You have
Mhm.
children, 9 times out of 10, you will say that you love them genuinely. And a lot of people think they know what's best for their children, opposed to their children know what's best, know what they like. Okay, hey, you might like this now, but you might like go out and play with your friends now, but you need to be in here studying or doing piano lessons, or like you said, like it's because that's what's gonna get you paid. That's what's gonna get you. That's what they call the guy. Did you see King Richard? That's what they call him. Over controlling. You know what I'm saying? Because they couldn't do a lot of different things. Up in his life if you actually had the more than the movie version of it. So
Mhm.
a lot of those, like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson became Michael Jackson because of an over controlling parent. I mean, so some would say they hate. A lot of times they're like, I hate my parents now for that, but this still you see the fruits of what the controlling parent is. So yeah, it's not good. It's never good. You want your children to grow up and be healthy mentally, first and foremost. But sometimes, as parents, we just think we know better, and then we're gonna let you know. And it's just don't ask, especially up in certain household, because I said so. It's because I said so. House.
But okay, you brought up Michael Jackson. Did you see the documentary that they did on Janet Jackson?
No, I didn't see the Janet Jackson one though.
Okay, well, it's on rerun, so you can you can catch. It's like a five episode thing, but she also said that she would not be where she was if it wasn't for her father, and she says that people, they misjudged their father, that you know um, while other kids are out playing whatever. They were in the house, with their instruments and singing, what have you. And she would not be where she was if it weren't for her father. I agree. Michael Jackson would not be Michael Jackson if it weren't for his father. Their father is the one who propelled them to the stardom that they had. But what did they lose? What was the trade-off? Was the trade-off by them losing a big part of their childhood? Not necessarily the older ones, because they were already older and they probably had a chance to go play ball and all this other stuff, but the younger ones. Was that the trade-off? That yes, I became the superstar, I have all this money, I can do all this, but this is what I lost.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like, so can you say do you now call it an event in your life that you can turn to a positive, or is it a tragedy in that, right? To some degree, it can be probably both. But the thing is that that's the controlling parent that we're speaking about. I'm figuring because he was
Hmm.
definitely controlling. And if you ask Michael, he would tell you differently. Janet may feel this way about it, but he asks Jermaine, he may tell you differently. Tito, he may tell you differently. So
Right.
everybody has their own, So in fact, my point is that growing up, you want your children to have that good, the mental state healthy mental state. And I think that's the problem where the controlling comes in. But if Janet overcame it, that's awesome, But Michael obviously had way more issues.
Okay. All right. Bob, I'm going to pass the mic to you. Do you want to jump in and add anything or?
Yeah, that was just what Will said. I think that the trauma or abuse or whatever the father put on his kids can affect them all differently. And, I think there's also more than one way to bring up, a special person, like someone who hits all the heights, does really well for themselves. I think there's more than one way to bring them up, whether it be, be abusive to them and, treat them horrible so that they are determined to make a good life for themselves, or treat them with all the love in the world so that they feel, sheltered and loved, and they can, uh, escalate and do all the good things. I think there is more than one way to bring up a star. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. And what happens when, that control or, the way you're bringing up your children or, even if again, I go back to that one friend who always has to be number one. They always have to be the leader. When you all were little, they always, always just wanted to be number one. You got to high school, they were the same way. At what point do you, as a parent, or you as a friend or spouse or whatever, have to sit back and realize I need to stop doing some of the things I'm doing, or else that person's going to walk out of my life. My child, you know, um, you know, I'm pushing them too much that when they turn 18, they're just going to leave and I'm not going to see them anymore. So, do you think that that's ever a consideration? You know, um, what do you think? Janet said that she wanted to go to business school, whatever, and she thought that she can do both. But her father kept pushing her, pushing her, pushing her, and she didn't. So, chill.
Well, that right there lies something that I have a conversation with several of the mothers that've been in my life that I've crossed paths with. For actually both sides of it, being too lenient and too nurturing, and baby, or being just overly aggressive. And there's always, and that's why life is full of, like, I know people want to say black or white, but I listen. Your kids are different. You got to treat them. You got to treat them differently. One might respond to a butt whooping way differently than the other one. One might not want you to take the game. You just have to adjust to each child, and you got to understand. You got to care about your child's mental state. Number one, and obviously sometimes you can't care about their feelings too much when they do wrong or they do something. They got to learn how to get over those feelings and how to handle those feelings. But if it's just coming too much from a parent, that can be definitely what my father has was. It could cause a resentment. You love your parent, it's just you don't want to deal with it. Like you said, you hit 18, 16, and whenever you get, it might be 15, 16, you got to run away. And so those are the times when you start to reflect on your parenting skills. Oh, my daughter went away. Oh, she's pregnant at a young age. Or what am I doing wrong? There's no pamphlet to go along with being a parent, first of all, and that's the thing you have to be considerate of that. You gotta hope for the best, but expect the worst to some degree, because your child is only going to do what they want to do at the end of the day. It's not going to be your fault. You can put them in the best situation, and they still become whoever they become. But you don't want to push them. You want to always have them be able to come to you, talk to you, and do all those things. But when they start bucking back, rebelling, or they're in a bad mental state, you want to sit down and reflect on yourself. A lot of parents just don't care because they know what they did or what they didn't have, and so they're overcorrecting, and it's coming in uh, as a mental disability to or stress to your child. You got to be able to self reflect and they'll let you know though when it's too much. It bursts and it bursts. Whether it's at 16, 18, 5, some kids you can't control. But it'll happen, and you got to start saying, "Hey, you know what? I don't care," or you can say, "Dang, what am I doing? Do I want to drive my child or daughter to this place?"
Okay. Ba?
I think it just goes back to what I said earlier about there are two types of people: that those who will know that they're controlling and what the consequences of that will be if the child, or the person, the friend of who's being controlled, decides to leave. Then the parent or the friend who's doing the controlling will just have to accept that. Like, maybe that's the wake up call they need. But I just feel that we have to start thinking about ourselves and our lives and not worry. Again, it's easier said than done. Our family, we've grown up, loved, we love them, and we wouldn't wish any harm on them, but ultimately they need to learn that this behavior is not acceptable and that you're not going to stand for it anymore. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. That you're not going to stand for it anymore, because they say that when it comes to controlling parents, especially the disrespect, not just in the privacy of your own home or whatever, but also in front of other people. That controlling parents tend to disrespect you in public, um, or they threaten you, or they're rude to either you or your spouse or your friends. So what do you do with that parent who has that psychological control? They try to control you on a psychological level. Bah?
Yeah, yeah. This one definitely rings alarm bells, because I remember when I was listening to my philosophy show, and his story was that he had a very controlling and abusive mother, and the thing that I always remember is whenever he was bad in public, whether it be in a restaurant or in front of friends, his mother would just give him a look, and or reprimand him, but just verbally. But whenever it was in the home and there was no one around, she would beat him. And when he confronted her about it in later life, she said that she had problems and she couldn't help her anger and all that. And his workings out of that was basically saying, look, you could control your behavior, because when we did it in front of friends and family, you never abused me, you never beat me up, you never did any of those things. So that doesn't wash with me. If you have an abusive partner or someone in your life, or parent or friend, and you'll notice when you're in company that they don't do it because they know that there are other people watching. That's a big telltale sign. They know what they're doing. They're very, they're choosy of the times that they can do it. They know they're being watched. So never accept that excuse that, oh, it's just the way I am. I need to work on it. I need to do this. Like, it's just, they're looking for sympathy, and they're looking for you to forgive them, and they're also looking for an excuse to carry on that behavior. So that's definitely something to look out for.
Okay. All right. Now, Chill, I have a question for you. So you had said earlier, that, part of, possibly, being a controlling parent was, you want to keep your kids out of the streets, COVID, make sure they don't get hurt, shot, whatever. Um, but at what point, while you're doing that, can you still allow your children to go out and have fun where, they don't feel so so cloistered, so like, damn, dad, can I at least go across the street? How do you let up on some of that? I mean, you can't control every aspect of their life. Yes, you want to protect them, but at the same time, you don't. You still got to let them breathe.
Okay, so I'm gonna answer this like first part real quick. Is that you give them the tool to survive? and trust in the process. Initially, you as a baby, you may have certain things. First, I don't subscribe to that theory. Number one, I need to get that out of the way, but I'm very familiar with it. So I'm typically the one that letting people know, like, you gotta ease up, or they're gonna hate your guts, or they gotta ease up, or they're gonna like you. They're gonna love you, but they're not gonna like you. So you teach them, but you also have to give them some free reign so they can go through their hard headedness and learn. The best thing as a parent, the only reward as a parent we get, it because there is none. It is all it just. But well, I guess that's not true. But the main one is that when a child walks through life, hitting their head on that bump or that corner, they could turn around and say, "Oh, my mom or my dad, oh, they told me, oh, they told me, oh, they warned me," and so then, and it's a cycle. When the teenagers they don't listen, they get to about 20, late 20s, they start like, "Oh, you know what? Remember, it just happened to me with my nephew. He said, you know what? I know what you were saying about rap music, man. I was listening to Chief Keef for a couple of days. I wanted to go out and kill somebody when somebody said something to me." I said, "Yeah, because it's a window to your soul. That you know what I'm saying, and things of that nature matter." So he started to listen, and now he acts accordingly with his children. So that those are things that are in play. You just got to give them the tools. You got to basically give them the tools. I mean, but as far as controlling parent, they're over controlling because they feel like it's my kid. You're gonna do what I say do because I know what's best. That's a different. That's a mental state in your and that person that's messed up. They need psychology. You know what I'm saying? But as far as I think what you asked Byram, as far as controlling parents being disrespectful, to some degree, yeah. But I think more controlling parents aren't disrespectful in public at all, because controlling parents, especially if they whoop your butt, they don't have to say anything. You understand how many times, you go out and my mom was told, oh, my dad was told, oh, you got great kids. They're well mannered because they're controlling parents. Controlling parents don't have no problem with kids in public unless you're older. And what I'm saying, it's like about, and they just bucking back. But controlling parents don't have those problems. So um, and I can see what Bahram means by when they are and in private they whoop your butt, and in public they just give you the eye. You know what I'm saying? But I to think that's a different thing. To be able, like, all right, I know everybody doesn't like butt whoopings, and I can get in trouble for it. That don't mean I don't believe it. That don't mean I believe in it. So when you're at home, I can't get in trouble for whooping your butt, but you deserve one. If I couldn't have went to get in trouble for whooping your butt, I don't think it's wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I know that I can get in trouble for it. So when I'm in closed doors, I'm whooping your butt because now can't nobody see, and this is what you deserve. So that's not the same thing as saying that you can't control a behavior. I mean, it's can as a cop out from what he was saying as an excuse, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's an underlying issue, because my parents were my butt on fine, and sometimes I deserved it, but they weren't controlling either. So, but the short answer is to prepare your children so they can go out and tell them what they need to hear, show them what they need to show, and then just little by little give them freedom. 5, 6, let them go out and play with their. You got to let them go out. I mean, give them the tools and then let them apply those. Let them mess up. Let them come and talk to you about it, and tell you how right you was, because you experienced, you've been through this before, and that's what everything. You just got to be there for them.
Okay, okay. Now I did have the parents, mainly my mother. She was the one that when we went out, in public, especially when we went shopping or grocery store or wherever, it was like, we got the talk before we got out the car. You better act this way or else, I'll beat your butt, whatever. But again, that's for the most part being a parent. I'm just talking about these parents who, even just you know you want to buy the blue shoes. Your mother wants you to have the brown shoes, and they could be the same style, but you want blue, but she's insisting on brown. Parents that just control every aspect of your life, from the friends that you're going to have, to what you're going to study when you go to school. When I went to college, I knew someone whose parents, chose the major that she was going to study. Every semester they chose, the classes that she was going to take. And she got to the point where she hated her parents. She absolutely hated them. And when
Like
she
hated them though. Like didn't love, like hate him, like wanted them to die, hate him, like one, like I don't
no,
care
I
what
mean,
happened to
no,
him.
she had the things that she said about her parents were not nice, at all. She said, I mean, literally, she was like, my entire life, they've controlled everything. And, she says, I don't want to do this major. I think it was a business major, and she didn't want to do that. I think she wanted to study psychology or something. But, again, it's like, yes, they're paying tuition. And, she said, that she would drop out of school, whatever. And she just did not have anything nice to say about her parents. And she was a very unhappy person. You just saw her. She was just miserable. So it's like, yeah, you can say, well, I want you to study this because I know what is good for you. But do you really? Because if you really knew what was good for that child, look at how miserable she is. Do you even care? I mean, have you ever sat down and asked her, what do you like? What do you want to do? What's your favorite color? What movies do you like? But she said literally every aspect of her life, as far as she can remember, her mother and father had something to say with what she did, to the way she dressed, to everything. And I just think that that's crazy. I think it is crazy. And I lost touch with her probably about 5 or 6 years after we left school. But she was miserable. She was a very miserable and unhappy person, and that was because of her parents.
And you think that was because of her parents though? That's kind of unfair, don't you think?
Why?
That's complete. I feel like after you're older and you're grown, that's completely unfair. I mean, if you're in college, that's unfair. I mean, I understand that
Okay,
it got to be a
but
point
if
to where
but
you grow
go ahead.
up.
Yes,
Got
yes,
to be
but
a point.
at the same time, though, if if you want to go to school and you want to study this, and your parents are like, well, no, you're going to study this, and they're literally picking out your classes for you. I mean,
Don't
come
you think that
on.
if you're old enough to feel like that's ridiculous, you're old enough to do what you got to do to go to school on your own and do what you want to do.
True, true, but at the same time, okay, so
The
let's
onus at
say,
that point is it on your parents. You
oh,
deciphered that this is ridiculous. So you want to
okay,
keep on this ridiculous behavior. You got to win yourself off. You grown now.
okay, true, true, but at the same time, okay, so let's say that she broke off from her parents when she was 18, and she went on and did whatever. But don't you think that some of the damage would have already been done if they were still, like just having her do whatever, they wanted her to do, even through high school, where you start to, come into your own and get your own personality and what have you, and you're still, just because you're living in my household and you're still a minor, you're still going to do what I told you to do. So
Absolutely,
isn't
absolutely. I get that. I get that. It's going to have the psychological effects are insurmountable to some degree. But
so you
I'm
don't
just pointing
think
out.
that that's still, so the hatred of her parents, or the dislike of her parents,
Mhm.
started before she got to college. That started probably when she was 8, 9, 10.
No, it
So
was started earlier than that.
I
About 2 years
right, so
old.
this is what I'm saying. So for her to dislike her parents, you don't think that her parents I mean, seriously, that it is mostly their fault?
I, this is the hard part. This is the hard part. Like, because at the point, you got one person saying that, like we just talked about Michael and Janet. Janet could. That's Michael. That's what you talking about is Michael. Janet could tell you, say, you know what? When I get what they meant when I got older, and I appreciate my parents for what they did, and so I'm gonna raise my child the same way, and it's cyclical. You know what I'm saying? So that's a perception. That's why you got to know your child, because she can have a brother, or that say, no, it wasn't that bad. She just dramatic. She emotional. You know how many times I see that in the family, or is even my family? You know what I'm saying? One person thinking butt whoopings, oh man, my dad tried to kill me. I hate him to this day for them butt whoopings. Oh my God. And I'm like, shut up, you was bad. You deserve them butt whoopings. And I'm like, shut, you a
But
crybaby.
I'm not
You know what I'm
talking,
saying?
but chill. But I'm not talking about the parent who's just giving you the butt whippings because you
I'm not.
you
I'm just as an
did
example is
whatever.
what I'm saying. How a child
Okay.
would think differently over controlling parents. Like it's just that's her personality. The parents should know and they should consider that. But I don't know if she had any brothers or sisters. They could all go on agree with certain things. But as far as how damning it was, it's not always like that. I know plenty of people were controlled like that and did that to their children. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all they knew, and that was love though. It wasn't from a bad place. Is what I'm saying.
I don't necessarily think that that parents who are over controlling that is always love. Sometimes I think it's just the fact that they just want to control their kids. Just like I was talking earlier before you came on that you have those parents who are controlling where you have the opportunity to get a job that may be across the country or possibly out of the country. This is your dream job. Oh my God, this is a job that I have been waiting for. But then your mom or dad or both are like, well, do you really want that job? You need to stay here because we're here, and if you go there, you'll probably fail, and then they'll start saying all these negative things or whatever. Then you end up staying, and then you have those regrets, for the rest of your life or however long, because you allow your parents to once again step in where they had no business being, and get you to the point where once again they can control you, and you're still here. You're living next door, or maybe you're still living in the same house. They still want to control you no matter how old you are. They still want to have a hand in what you say and do. You get married, your husband or your wife, they're not good enough for you, or whatever, or they're constantly criticizing. She can't do this right, or he can't do this right, and you don't stand up to them, and then all of a sudden that interferes with the relationship with your husband or wife. I mean, that's the control that I'm talking about, and I don't necessarily think that all of that is rooted in love.
Well, I mean, a parent knows best is rooted in love, whether it's not how minute it is or not. I know best. I need to make sure and also is over controlling people is a problem. I can't stand it because especially in the workplace when they're in management, they think they can treat people like they're their children, and that doesn't fly. And so that's what they'll end up with me because I'm used to it. But overall, I think what you're saying is that I mean you're being critical of a whole cultures, the Asian culture, the Indian culture, the African culture, they're all like that, and to a huge extent. And so it's not for me to tell them that the whole culture is wrong when I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm
Well,
not saying
no,
I
I
would
mean,
want to
no,
endure that, but oh yes, I know. I personally, a lot of people that's what they go through. A lot of Asian culture. I've been they that is it. That is it.
no,
You're
I
gonna
mean,
do
no,
what I
I
say
mean,
when
no.
I do it, how I want you to do it. That's a
I
culture.
mean, and I understand that, but I also think that you cannot consistently tell your child, you know, how they need to feel. Do this and do that, because you have a lot, whether it's their culture or not. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of unhappy people. I'm pretty sure
Oh
you have a
yeah.
lot of whatever. So
Yeah.
you
You hear it all
know
the time. I went to go do my own thing. My parents they banned me from my family, and now I'm good at it. I might be special. Like I was just watching a cooking show of an Asian lady saying like, I just left a 6-figure year job to go to to Jeff Ramsey, and to cook, and I'm on Jeff Ramsey's show, and my father can't stand me to this day. So his mom's there, but her father's not there because he didn't approve of what she's doing, and she's famous at this point. So that's crazy. That's crazy.
And that's what I
That
mean
doesn't
by
mean it's
those
love.
parents who are still in their child's life. And I'm not saying that they don't love them, but I do believe that there are also some where love is not a factor. It's more so,
It's
how
just
does that make the
control.
family look?
You're right.
Okay, just like and Bob, I don't mean to leave you out of the conversation. I am coming to you, but just like, you have those cultures um, where the daughter, doesn't want to marry whomever, and the father and the sons, they end up killing the daughter or the sister because you shame the family. So is that love, or is it the fact that you made us look bad, so therefore we have to kill you? I mean, that is their culture, but that's messed up. That is not love.
And that's a
If
debatable.
you
Because I'm gonna say why it's debatable. Because if I'm a father or a mother, I've subscribed all my life to these theories. I'd adhere to it too. And so for you not to do it, you're just been bucking back, and that's embarrassing.
But
And
is
so that
that
does
because
matter.
you've been conditioned to believe that if your daughter, is not a virgin, when she marries this 70-year-old man that your father picked out, then we're going to kill her? That's not
That's
love. I'm
I'm not
sorry.
saying
I'm
that's their
sorry. That's
love,
not love.
but that's their life. And I don't want to be critical of somebody in their ways because they can look at, they're saying the same. They probably have a podcast right now and saying the opposite thing, calling us crazy.
You're
You
right.
understand?
You're right. You're good point. You're right. Okay, Bob. I know you've been listening to all of this. Thank you for being patient. What do you think? We said a lot.
That was a good chat. I was listening well, and don't get me wrong. If I take this in a different a different way, that what you two guys were just debating there, then please just stop me. But I think listening to Chilwell, and again, tell me if I'm wrong. I think there is a real problem with society and children, and how there is this um, the respect has gone from the children to the adults. They no longer respect anymore, and I don't necessarily think it's a good thing. The example I would use is I listen to a football podcast every week, and when they describe some of the attitudes of the young football players, the 14, 15, 16-year-olds that are breaking through the academies into the first team, and they're in the dressing room with these senior players, and they talk back, and their attitudes, compared to maybe 20, 30, well, probably more than that, maybe 30, 40 years ago, it just wouldn't work. There's no respect there anymore. And I think that, again, with my tinfoil hat on, or my philosophy head on, it's like it's been pushed that way. Like the world has gone in that way where morals and parenting has just took a dramatic fall. The levels aren't there anymore. Parents don't even teach. Parents don't even parent their kids anymore. They're slapped in front of TVs, and they're brought up by the government. Um, Another controversial thing I'll say here, but with the welfare system, certainly in the UK, it's a huge problem. But you know, parents aren't sticking together anymore. Divorce rates are through the roof. I actually seen a fact today that I think less than 50% of adults in the whole world were married, which is the lowest it's ever been. Um, and that's because the welfare system's there as a carrot dangling over the man's head, saying, "Look, to the woman, if you're not happy, you don't have to be. We'll support you. Here's government money. We'll look after you." And I think that it's all combined into the type of people that are being brought up now, and the generations, and the Gen Zs and the millennials, and there's a certain drift to like demoralization, and another good little video I saw the other week there was one of these funny meme TikToks where it was like in the middle of the screen was like 70s, and it was a guy walking towards a door, and he would bang into the door, and in the 70s it was like they would start fighting with the door, And then as it went on to the 80s, then 90s, it would eventually that in the 2020s, he would bang into the door and he would fall down and hold his arm and start crying. And it was kind of like a video to show that we've got soft, and that our the people that we are bringing up are it's just a participation trophy in sports. Everyone's a winner. There's no competition anymore. It's just demoralizing. I just don't agree with it. So when you and Chilwell were arguing, well, not arguing, debating there about the instance with the parents picking the subjects for that girl, I think it was, there are instances where I would probably have to say, look, that's maybe not a controlling thing. There's examples where I'll have to stick up for the parents, tough love and all that, and they know better, and they're just wanting the best for their kids, and they know what the big bad world looks like, so that but there are obviously controlling parents. So you've just got to weigh it up as it Yep.
All right. Well, okay. So let me ask you this then, Bob. And then I want Chill to weigh in. So let's go from the controlling parents to a controlling spouse or a controlling boyfriend or girlfriend. I mean, is it out of love that they're being the person always telling you what to do? I mean, is it love or is it the fact that they're just controlling?
Yeah, it depends what type of control. I mean, the abusive control is obviously, again, you must be getting sick of me saying this, but it's obviously they've saw it in their parents when they were little. Their father or mother would have been controlling, in my opinion, and they've seen it and they see that is normal. And then when they grow up and they have relationships, they just think that they're being normal, and uh, it's definitely not.
Okay, but can you look around, the room, or can you, look around and see, well, I'm the only one who's being controlling. I'm the only one who is, slapping this person around or whatever. None of my other friends are doing it. None of, no one else in the family's doing it. So do you think that that's still normal?
No, I mean, it's definitely not normal, but it's like when these people break down and when they're confronted about their behavior, they often use the excuse of, oh, it's an illness. I know I'm doing it. I just can't. No, I don't know I'm doing it. I just can't break the habit. So in a way, it is an illness because it's not a nice thing, but it's in them. It's bred into them. It's their characteristics, the things that they've seen in their life, and it's now part of them, and they'll have to go through some counseling or philosophy or self-knowledge and things to break that habit and go away and take a journey of their own. But it's certainly not, it doesn't just happen from person to person, and that person will be controlling no matter what relationship they go from. Yeah.
All right, Chill.
Yeah, so that's a good spin on it as far as with the relationships, because I've experienced that myself in relationships, and there's levels of it. Like the level, especially in parenting that you're speaking of, is not typical. I mean, they're out there, but typically it's still controlling. It's levels of control. You know what I'm saying? And controlling can be in aspects just abusive, to where I want you to do what I want you to do. So there is that completely, and that's just a mental thing. I think that's a problem if you're here in America, But if you taught that and you're just bestowing upon your children, that's when does it come not love? Like that's what I was taught. That's how I was supposed to do, and that's what you're supposed to do. Like somebody had to come to you and say this is not right, and you have to agree with it, or you got to realize like the effects of it. It's not necessarily even about a right or wrong. It's about, wow, I'm being this way, the cause and effect of it. This is causing this, and is affecting my child in this way, or my spouse in this way, or my boyfriend in this way. So I don't want to be like that, or I do want to be like that. And so if you decide the latter, like, you know what, I'd rather be like that than the latter, and people run me over, or my child go out and do this, I'd rather be that way. So whatever. but they don't. It's up to them to decide that this is a problem. This is a behavior that needs to be corrected. And that's sometimes the problem in situations, because if you're rich, or if you're a man and you're hot, and you don't have to work on these things. Because people let you get away with stuff that you don't. They let you be controlled. Like, oh, this is Janet Jackson. She can say or tell me to do whatever, and I'm staying there. Even if don't wear this, don't do that, don't go here at this time. It's crazy. And that ain't love. That's not love in reference to a relationship at all. That's just controlling. But that don't mean they don't love you. That's more things that I'm saying. That doesn't necessarily mean they love you. That mean they want their way, and they'll do anything to get their way. They're not used to not getting their way, and so when they don't, some people lash out. They might get emotional, dramatic. They might get violent. Sometimes dudes get violent, which is all of a side of weakness for me. To not get your way and act out that way, whether it's passive or aggressively or aggressively. And it's something that we all need to work on, because at one point that we might end up in a relationship like that. You know what I mean? And think like, oh, you know what? You need to call me when you get somewhere. That's what you need to do. Or you do this, or like, it just became anything. Like, I'm worried about you, so you need to do this, do that. And so I'm like, what? Like, hold on, like, I just got to the room, and I don't care. You should have called me when you get off the plane. Certain people gonna have their control the aspects that they want in their life that they just need. And so, is it wrong or right now? It's just about how much how much you like that person, how much you gonna let them control you, how much you gonna adhere to, how much you won't. But if they don't agree that it's a problem, then it's just not. And so that's the point, is where it comes to, is right or wrong. I can't control it. I want what I want. What's wrong with that in life?
So, Chill, okay, so do you think there's a difference between a controlling spouse or partner and a controlling parent where abuse comes in? Do you still want to throw that word love in there?
Do you think because somebody get hit, they don't love you? Oh yeah, of course. You
No,
get
no,
hit
no, no.
upside my
No. I'm not talking about get hit where your parents are spanking you or whatever because you just. I'm talking about it is just abuse. That's what I'm talking about. Do you still throw the word love in there when it is just downright just abuse?
I got you. So it's always lines. Like when you speak about these levels, there's always lines, and who's to say what's the line across? Sometimes just whoopings are way too much for certain families. You should never put your hands on a child. So that's egregious in itself. And so your uh, goalpost may be further than others, and so that's what we typically have established. And so, and that right, fighting, and especially from where I come, it's normal. If I'm looking at outside in the Walmart and I'm watching these two couples in a car, like bah, 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 that's just there every day, because that's what they do. She'll strap up, he'll strap, like, you know what I'm saying. She'll bust him in the eye, and he'll turn around and slap him upside the head, because that's just. And tonight they'll be eating popcorn, watching Friends or some shit. Who knows? So that's just the toxicity of their relationship. Is it wrong or right? Nah, but sometimes it works for some people. I'm telling you, I done seen it. They love each other to death. They argue to their grave. But that ain't healthy at all. You would think that you want peace, you want to get away from that, right? But that's a lot to go through when people are faced to change themselves, to look at themselves. Because I like, say for instance, somebody tell you about yourself. I mean, you can tell somebody a lot of times about themselves, but when somebody turn around and tell you about yourself, ooh, and then to actually change and say, all right, I want to change. I love you. I want to change. I want to counseling. And then when you got to actually walk the walk and talk the talk, control your temper, keep your hands off of this person. That's a process. That ain't easy. So some people like to hell with it. I'm gonna just be myself, because they it's not because they don't love them. It's just because shit is hard. But I don't want to leave. I want to be without them. And so it's a process too. Like, it's just, I'm used to this. This is what I seen with my parents. My parents was abusive. I've been abusive, or so for some women, they've been in an abusive relationship after abusive relationship after abusive relationship, and so that's what's normal to them. You know what I mean? You walked away. Are you walking away? You a sissy. You a punk. You know how many times I've been told by women that because I walked away. You know, that's crazy, right? But that's just the psychological. abuse that we go through, and it needs to be changed. But it ain't easy. Somebody gave up on me and said, I'm the way I am. I can't do that. I tried, I can't do it. And so I left. I had to leave. You want me to give everything to you, but you can't, face this. That's hard to do when it's yourself.
All right. I mean, I just wonder, parents that control, if you're in a controlling relationship, you know, is it worth it? Is it worth, doing all this to risk your child or your loved one to walk away? I mean, they're just sick and tired of it that, when they're old enough they walk away, or if they're in this relationship, they just walk away. It's like, what is the trade-off? I mean, is it, fame and fortune that you're willing to put up with it? I mean, what is the trade-off? Because there's always a trade-off. And the person who is always having to trade something is the one who went through the control or the abuse. They're the ones who are making the trade-off. So I don't know. I'm going to go around the room, give my two speakers, thank you, the last word. So, Bob, do you have any words of wisdom you want to depart with us, or impart with us, rather?
And just have more standards for ourselves. If we only live once, then let's do it right. Let's do it to the best of our ability, and remove toxic people from our lives, and do what makes us happy.
Okay. All right. Chill.
Yeah, awareness is key in these matters. Learning yourself. Because I'm gonna be honest, I hate when people say, you know what, you need to be by yourself and learn yourself. Yes, cool. But you can't really only truly learn and work on things unless you are in a particular relationship. So giving up on people isn't in my character. Now, if some people want to throw away with me, yeah, that's fine. But sometimes it just, you don't have the energy and you're at a point in your life, it's fine. But I still don't give up. And then, if it's a relationship, man, it's to be honest, you know, I'm gonna simply put it this way: just be aware of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Work on yourself, but just don't give up on people, because you can't work on your temper or your patience sometimes unless you're around people. You know what I'm saying? It's all easy to just give up and be by yourself. You know what I mean? Don't give up on people. Love them, empathize with them, but that don't mean you gotta take all this shit. It's always a line, and just be aware. That's
Okay. All right. Well, we had a small group today, but that was fine because I had two people on here who always have something to say. So thank you guys very much. I'm going to end it here. Speak your truth. Go where the wind takes you. And I hope to see you tomorrow. And thank you, Juju and Frankie, for your golden beans and your super chats. I appreciate it. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to tell Chill and Bahram. A lot of you guys know Frankie's situation, and we email each other a lot. And just so you guys know, she, in words, not verbally, because she's not able to do that, she has given both you, Bahram and Chill, she has given you both a lot of props. So she likes what you guys have to say. So on behalf of Frankie, thank you very much. So
awesome. Thank you, Frankie. Look, you're still in here.
Cheers,
I didn't know.
Frankie.
I
she
wasn't
is.
aware.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah. She
blessings be with you, and we.
yeah. Yeah, she lost her the majority of her vocal cords when she was 10. So we've had conversations on the phone, but she mainly does everything through words. So, but she gives both of you guys a lot of props.
Thanks, Frankie. Thank you.
That's
Means
flattering.
a lot.
That's flattering. I don't know if I
Yeah.
deserve.
Yeah, I know. Same here.
So, okay, guys. So go where the wind takes you, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye. And Miss Juju, thank you very much. Did you have your pool time today? while, we're going to have to get together too. And Frankie, thank you for all your likes. And tell all your friends. Thank you too, because I know they're sending love my way too. So thank them for me if they're listening. Yep, we will. Speak on Twitter. Frankie, and I do have, I had a suggestion on a way we can do a show with a program that we need to incorporate. And I'm trying to figure that out on how your voice would translate and how we can do this. So, but anyway. Okay, so you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.